the wonderful Grainne McCoy, owner and founder of Give Us Beauty. And there she is in all her glory after a week's detox from digital, Grainne. That's not like you.
Hi, hello Sarah, hello everybody. Yeah, I felt like I just needed a little bit of me time, and I think that's okay. Sometimes
It absolutely is.
I feel like the next 6 months is going to be like,
yeah.
It's going to be very busy.
It's been, and that's what we've brought you to the conference today to talk about. It's very much been centered around you and your brand, and you are very much part of your brand. So there's an interesting situation already because it's constant. You are switched on constantly all the time, especially when you work in something so visual as the beauty industry. There are many small businesses that are joining us today. If I could just remind you all to turn your cameras and mics off for this session. And I also need to tell you as well that we did record the workshop. So if anybody for any reason would like a recording or missed little bits of it, we can get those to you afterwards. But yeah, we're talking to Grainne all about developing yourself, developing your brand, and ultimately developing your business. And for those of you who don't know Grainne, well, she's an extremely successful business person, but I suppose she first came to international light when she was a semi-finalist in The Apprentice. I think, was that Grainne back in 2016?
Yes, 2016. Feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yes, so much has happened since, but you know, we will talk about The Apprentice because everybody still wants to know all about that. But in growing their business, many small businesses maybe don't recognize the importance of their brand, and brands are not exclusive to big giant companies that we all know like Nike or Coca-Cola. They are equally important. I think we saw that earlier with Brian and Deli Lights. For small businesses too, your brand should be a key component to how you develop your business. But you know, what would your advice be when you are your brand?
I feel that if we take it back to, I think the story behind the brand is so important, and customers love a story. And that's why I love sharing my story. And that's why I want to sort of touch base in that somewhere in a little bit, if I have time today, to just give you a little insight into, because a lot of people think, oh, there's Grainne McCoy, she was on The Apprentice. It was all put in a plate for her. There you go. She got it all handed to her. That is completely the opposite. And I feel it's very important for everybody to understand that with starting up a business or with starting up any sort of, new business, it is very important to know where you came from, know your journey, and remember that that's the growth of where you're going to continue on with. So I think will I talk a little bit about my journey? So
I think that's really important for those of you who don't know, where you came from and how it all started. I will hand over to you for that.
Perfect. So hello everybody, my name is Grainne McCoy, and as Sarah kindly gave us a little bit of an intro, my industry is the makeup and beauty industry, and it's been my love and passion from, believe it or not, since I was about that height. So it's been part of my journey from a very young age. All I've known. My grandmother was a makeup artist, so she used to take me to little Avon parties when I was younger. So it's something that I knew I always wanted to do. I remember walking around, I think it was Roach's stores at the time, with my mother and saying, oh, I'm going to own one of them counters one day. This is the 6-year-old, 7-year-old Grainne, and my mother thought I was crazy. But it was my dream. It was my passion. It was what I seen in my head, even as a young girl. During secondary school, obviously it wasn't a big thing for me. I wasn't really, I didn't enjoy it. But I guess my first full-time job became ahead of me very, very early. For anybody that doesn't know, I became a mother at 15. So life got very challenging very, very quickly for me. But again, I knew that I wanted to continue on my drive and my passion for getting into the makeup industry. And I'm very stubborn. I think that's all of us. When you're in business, you have to be stubborn. You can't let any sort of knocks put you down. So from I was 15, this was the starting point for me. I had Ryan on the 2nd of August. I went back to school on the 4th of September to repeat my 5th year because I wasn't able to do it. Now, although I didn't get many GCSEs, to tell you the truth, I still done it. I came out and I went straight into number 7 Boots in the Buttercrane, and I was a consultant there for number 7 consultant. That was my first makeup job. And I worked my way through the retail sector, again, not much of an education, but knew that I was a single mom. I was leaving around to the creche. I was going to work, I was coming back. And I worked my way up until I was about 21, till I was a retail store manager. Now, I knew this wasn't for me. I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to have that. And plus, I loved a good challenge as well. So I decided to do a degree in makeup in TV and film. And I worked my way through it, juggling Ryan. Again, I was only 21. Ryan was like 5 at the time. It's just something I knew I wanted to do. I needed to get experience. I finished my course. I started teaching. I started traveling back and forth. This is going to be a very quick insight. Started traveling back and forth to London. I wanted to work for Google and YouTube. And this is another point for branding yourself as well. I wanted to work for Google and YouTube, and I knew the only way I could do it was to persuade them, because I had no experience. By persuasion, I mean I knocked on the door every day. So on Tottenham Court Road, I was traveling back and forth at the time from Ireland, and I would go every day until they knew who I was, until they gave me a chance. And then I ended up being their head makeup artist for Google and YouTube in Tottenham Court Road in London, just for complete persuasion. Just please, give me a chance. Showed them my work and everything. So I got the job. I became head artist for Google and YouTube, as I said, for a show called The Hangout, where I done numerous American TV people, and I spent a day with Backstreet Boys, if anybody knows that, there's that age group, yes. Backstreet Boys, John Legend, and different people. So I knew that's the passion I wanted to do, but I knew also that I couldn't sustain the traveling and also juggling Ryan as well. I still was, my full-time job was a mom. That was priority, but I needed to go home. So I went home and I set up a little business. I was actually doing makeup lessons at the back of my mother's. I renovated a shed at the back of my mother's house and started working from there. But again, I felt like, oh God, I need to do something else. I have this fire inside me. It's the only way. And people say, God, you give over. That fire is fabulous. I love it, because the boredom kicks in and the little, oh, what else can I do? And I was like, this isn't enough for me. And I feel like I can do so much more than this. And that's not arrogance, that's self-belief. And I decided I'm going to apply for The Apprentice. Now, as we all know, when our mothers over here and our parents, they wrap you in cotton wool. So my mother's like, please don't do this, Grainne. It's too much. They rip you to shreds in that show. I was like, I am going to love this. I love it. So I applied, and away I went over to Manchester for my interviews. And I remember going off to the hotel in Manchester. I'd never been to Manchester before. I actually didn't even probably have the funding to get on the trip at that stage. In my bank balance. And I remember going out with my little Primark bag and my little Primark suit and thinking it was fabulous, and turning on my heels with fear in me, thinking, how am I ever going to do this? But I actually had a good word with myself outside, and I got the fear back. I removed the fear, and I changed it into excitement. I knew that I'd never done anything like this before. I'd never had this opportunity before, and I was going to take it with both hands. And that's exactly what I done. And I walked into that hotel foyer, into the room, with thousands of people, and I not convinced them, it's probably the wrong choice of words. I showed them that I was a valuable candidate for Lord Sugar's Apprentice, and they took me on. So I think about 300, maybe 250, 300,000 people applied for this show, and they picked little old Grainne from Drummondhee, where we don't even have a shop. So it was an experience. I made my way through the 10 tasks with a lot of hard work, and one also being myself, which I feel is a massive, massive thing within any sort of business or with any sort of situation that you're in. And Lord Sugar would always say that you can't juggle 2 personalities. So I made it through to the semi-finals, and I didn't get to the final because during the interview process, do you know when you go into the interviews and they're all like ripping your business plan apart. So my business plan was to have a retail store, an online makeup store, a training academy, and an agency for makeup artists. Now, they said that this was too much. I had too many dreams. I had too many ideas in one plan that it could never work. So I said, that's okay, that's fine. And I went away off with a smile on my face. Now, after the show, I think even myself, I was a little naive, thinking all this work was going to flood in. You know, I got this exposure. This was going to be like a catapult for me. Quite the opposite. In the first, being on the process of The Apprentice in 2016, and I say it openly to everybody, if you looked at my credit rating, I mean, every month was red because I couldn't work. I dedicated a whole year to this show. Coming off the show, I was probably in more debt than I was ever in my life. The work was not coming in. And I think I got my first paid job then in April 2017, which was fantastic. I became an ambassador for an apprenticeship company throughout the whole of the UK and Ireland. And what I did was I turned my passion for makeup into an actual program for 16 to 24-year-olds where we got funding for single moms. We got to do the course, their childcare, and the makeup kit. I wanted to use my passion and my experience and combine them all together. That's being a single mom, my makeup, and then my experience of the apprentice, and put them all together and do something different. And that was all fantastic, and everything was going great. And then I ended up, I broke my leg for a year, as one does. I went skiing and broke my leg, and it put me back. It put me into a massive depth of depression. My whole life had just gone like this to then it hit rock bottom. It was very, very dark place. I couldn't walk for 9 months. I had to retrain my leg, or my brain, that my leg was there. So it was challenging. But again, I didn't sit back and think, right, okay, this is the end. I'm going to give up here. I actually turned that time where I could sit and relax, and I started researching how to create a brand. And because I couldn't walk, I'd sold my car. I needed money to finance this new brand that I wanted to create, and sold my car and pumped the money into a new brand, which was the Grainne McCoy brand. Now, by the time I had my high heels back on in November, I had 2 products out. I had them in stores and they were selling out. And that was due to, again, turning the situation where it could have been a challenging, where I could have sat really and felt sorry for myself. And mind you, I did for about a month. But I knew the only person that can change any sort of challenge in your life is you. There's nobody going to put batteries in you and make you recharge yourself and do it again. You know, you need to get up, and that was my thing. So after that was fantastic. And brand's going brilliant. Everything's going well. Then COVID hits. So we'll fast forward another couple of years. COVID hit. And it hit everybody. And we all know how much it suffered businesses and how much it put everybody in so many depths of depression and everything. And we've all got through it together. But last March, obviously my business had stopped. My workshops had stopped. Everything wasn't selling. And like a lot of people, I drank a lot of red wine on the march, and was locked in the house and listened to a lot of music and a lot of red wine. But then again, I was like, I can't do this. This is not going to change very quickly. So I need to change with it. I need to change my brand into what I can see is happening, and which was online. So I decided to start an online store, and I called it Give Us Beauty. Now the name, obviously it's in the name. I started selling a couple of products on it. So started contacting a couple of brands, putting this website together. I was very fortunate that my mother actually put the website together for me. So she had built the website for me, and we started putting these products on. And I was like, oh, people are buying from me. And then I started putting another couple of products on, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting more sales. So the more I started like doing this online platform of maker products, makeup lessons, teaching people how to use the products. This actually formed within 14 weeks. An online shop had created the finances for me to then open the actual standalone store. So I got the keys for a standalone store in June last year, and I renovated, and it took me 3 months. And in September, what day was it? 26th, I think. Yeah, 26th of September last year, during a global pandemic, I'd opened a retail store. And I continued to open and close and open and close. And as we all know, that's the way our businesses are working at the moment. I kept a very, very strong online presence. I kept a very strong connection with not only the products and the people, but my customers and my following, I mean, are the reason why I'm standing in my store today. If I could, and I do, I phone my customers like they're my friends. And I will like, well, what's the crack? The customer service that I try to put across, not only the people that come into my store, but my online customers as well, is the key to my business. It's the value to my business. It's definitely one of the core values to my business, is making sure that my customers are happy with the experience, both online and in store. But as we continued on, the store is now up and running. It is having a nice little turnover. I am currently looking at 2 other locations, and I guess it all started with the story of developing myself, which was from a very young age, knowing exactly where I was going, knowing exactly where I wanted to go, and knowing exactly what I wanted to do to get there. And it was a lot of, I call it a roller coaster. My life was a roller coaster. There was never anything easy in it. It was never anything, oh, there you go, you got yourself a shop. From just, getting a little, it wasn't. It was complete determination and drive and self-belief and never listening. I never listened to anybody that tells me I couldn't do it. I don't believe in anybody telling anybody that they can't fulfill their dreams. It's probably one of the most horrible things somebody could say to somebody. I think with every sort of dream, idea, or anything that you have in your head, to start a business, to scale your business, to think outside the box when it comes to your business, the only person that can do that is you. And for anybody else to say, oh, that wouldn't be possible, just use that as fire. I love when somebody says that to me, because I'm like, right, okay, watch. But when it comes to developing yourself, yeah, that would be my story of how I developed myself, my brand, and then how I definitely turned it into my business, which is now the Give Us Beauty by Grainne McCoy retail store. So I've got the retail store, I've got the training academy, which I have another 2,000 square foot happening at the minute. And what else was it? The online store and the agency, which is something I'm thinking about. But that was Lord Sugar's not apprentice, like the interview people that told me, you'll never be able to do that. There's too much going on. That is not a scalable business. Well, look at me now. So when it comes to branding your business, I guess, what's the key things that I think about? I think a strong brand is essential to stand out within your industry, but definitely your story. Being passionate about your journey, expressing to people, yeah, I failed at this, but I've redone it again. I'm doing it again. Your story can create such a strong element to your brand and to the actual exposure for your brand itself. But that's a little insight into me.
It's lovely, Grainne. It's a potted history. I mean, I've interviewed you before, but every time I learn something new, and I hadn't known about the broken leg and the laying up for a year. I mean, setbacks, that's really what, you've shown that you thrive actually when there's a challenge. You thrive when things are down. Yes, you have oh no, what's happened? But you turn it around every time, and the resilience that you've shown has been incredible. Some lovely comments coming in, if you can see in the chat, Grainne. Love your honesty, says S. McKinley. And she asks, what gave you the passion and persistence to forge ahead? But I think you were born that way.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
Yeah, totally. Jessica Kane at Newry Chamber is doing a great job today. Asks Grainne, what advice would you give to any small business representatives here today who may be apprehensive about putting themselves out there? Because let's face it, Grainne, you know, you can do that. You do that really, really well. Is that something that you're born with as well? And how would you help those more introverted about getting in front of the camera?
Well, I will tell you the truth. And that is that whenever in 2016, going on the BBC Apprentice, my biggest fear, believe it or not, everybody, was talking. I could not have done this, what I'm doing now, 4 or 5 years ago. It just wouldn't have been possible. And then my first job after the Apprentice, as I said, I had no money. There was no money coming in. All the things were bouncing back like a bouncing ball, you know, and I openly say that. But my first job was to public speak. And my first paid job after the Apprentice was in front of 600 people, and I had to get up in a room, and I'll never forget it. I was wearing rings from Topshop, and they were only new, but they'd started going green already with the sweat in the palms, the anxiety, the pressure. But I love turning that fear into excitement now.
Yeah.
And we're not robots. Mm-hmm. And if you stand up in front of somebody and you, I've made a mistake, that's okay. I actually think I'm a stand-up comedian now, because if I do something wrong, I'll sort of laugh it off. But I think it's very, very, very important to get your face out there, to be part of your brand, to not have always somebody representing your brand, to learn how to talk. And I know social media is huge. Social media is a massive, massive part of everybody's business. But sharing your story or your elements of your business or your USPs of your business, or just little snippets of what you're doing and because your business is your baby. So being passionate about that and sharing that to your customers or your followers or anybody is definitely very important, but it is practice.
Yeah. Chris McGuckin says, well said, Grainne. Great to hear a local success story, but also hearing from a resilient woman in business, hopefully an inspiration for other women going into business. And I mean, you didn't have it easy. You had a baby at 15 years old, just at that vital time where you could be getting your qualifications together and moving forward. Mm-hmm. But again, it just seems to have given you an even more leverage to do even better.
Yeah. I think when I look back now, 4 weeks after having a child at that age is probably a bit insane of going back to school. When you think about it realistically now, like people take 9 months off.
Exactly.
But I guess I could have sat back, and I knew even back then, I can even remember thinking to myself, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this. So just do it, Grainne.
And the old imposter syndrome, which again is tied in with the public speaking as well, but the old imposter syndrome, when, you know, the judgments that people can make about you when you're going forward, that could actually make you either put on that suit of armor and hold a lot of resentment. I mean, how do you cope with that?
I think this is a very strong point that people need to really, especially if it's a small business or you want to grow your business, to stop and remove the fear of what other people are going to think about you. And especially it could be family members or close friends. So if it's something that you're doing completely out of your comfort zone, that your friends or your family will go, why are you doing that? A lot of businesses, I think, are a lot behind themselves in progression because they're afraid of what other people will think.
Oh, yes.
We could just remove that. I removed it a long time ago. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I probably annoy a lot of people on my Instagram and different things. Probably don't like me, but that's okay, because the people that are coming to you are coming to you because they like you. You know, you don't have to please everybody, but making sure that you are fulfilling the dream in your head and not letting somebody else's opinion stop it is very, very, very important, I feel.
It's wonderful advice. And, you know, I think it is that it's the vulnerability that you show. It's the opening, the honesty around your story, because, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to put that out there. And then you do open yourself up to everybody knows everything about you. But, you know, there's probably lessons for other businesses around that. You talked about when the things go wrong or the biggest challenges. I tell you, for keynote speakers at conferences like this, those are the speakers that we remember. We don't want to hear how everything's just going brilliantly all the time. We want to know how you overcame difficult times and how you're still thriving and growing.
Most definitely. And I think it's very important. I openly admit when I'm having my bad days, and bad days I feel, or down days are just as important as them days that you're feeling amazing, because as I said, I took a week off and I felt like I just needed to recharge myself. I was a little confused. I was doing a million things and it was just overwhelming what's been happening at the moment, that I felt if I don't sit back and literally take a few days to myself, this is going to go wrong. So, and not having the guilt of knowing that I needed a few days off or needed to little recharge myself and refocus myself, because for the next 6 months, I'm going to be like a rocket.
Yeah.
You know, because with the couple of days that you have down or you're resting, don't ever feel guilty for them, because the couple of days or the couple of months or maybe another year that you have them couple of days off, you're going to be energized, you're going to be ready, and you're going to absolutely annihilate your business plan.
What do they say? Nobody should wear burnout as a badge of honor anymore. We need to unplug, we need to recharge, otherwise we are 100%. Going to burn out. Roisin McCalliskey also said, do you feel a lot of responsibility to always be positive? With a lot of other small businesses looking to you for inspiration on your social media, they talk about even the toxic positivity. Is it real? And what do you do, as you said, on the days where you don't feel like having your face in public? And I know what that's like massively when I used to do the news all the time, and you think, oh, I'm having a bit of a bad time at the minute. But you've got to smile and you know, the show must go on.
No, but I'm very lucky, because the following that I have, and this is another thing I need to put across, you don't need 1 million followers. You don't need 60,000 followers. If you have 5,000 followers, if you have 500, they're 500 loyal customers to you. I'm very fortunate that the following that I have are so supportive to me. And locally, I wish I could hug every woman or every person, not even saying every woman, every man, woman and child that comes into my shop locally and has supported me as a small business at Gilbus Beauty. But I guess it's overcoming it's just a little bit of everything. Just
what if you're not very good at, you know, what if you struggle a wee bit with the social media presence that is absolutely required? You know, go to somebody who's better to help you with it. If you feel that you aren't naturally the front person, you know, how do you build that brand that way? Because it's so important to have that brand visible.
I think you can, getting your brand out there can be, and I know a lot of people are doing this, the influencer marketing, and it's such a trendy thing at the minute. But also just be careful when it comes to influencer marketing that you're using the correct people. You're not going to somebody just because they have 100,000 followers. They mightn't be suitable for your brand, and they mightn't be viable to what you're paying them to say. To go to somebody that will actually respect and actually values you and your brand and your values of your brand. But getting yourself out there, I definitely think just do it. And I know that's a tricky one to say, but the first video will always be the worst. Sarah, right or wrong, listen to your own voice back.
Absolutely. Sure, whenever I do videos, I probably do about 20 takes before I pick the right one. So there's a little insider knowledge, and I've been doing it for 25 years.
But it's important. It's important to get your voice out there, because it's your dream, it's your heart, it's your business, it's your baby. There's nobody on this planet going to sell your business better than you.
And it is all about the story. I know there was a question before. For small businesses, the brand is often centered around a family business or the family. You know, at what point do you move on from that? Or is that actually just that is the manna from heaven that you need? That family story is the one that sells.
I definitely think it does. Like the story of the ups and downs is definitely what needs to be said more. And as you were saying earlier, people put this persona online of this, and it is toxic positivity, where they're going, everything's amazing. Oh my God, I'm going to have such a fabulous day. You know, get up and smash it. And I've been in that position where I'm looking at people and I'm looking at the screen going, I couldn't think of anything worse than listening to you right now, because I'm not feeling like that. I feel like my business is struggling. I feel like I need a little bit more of a, and what I suggest is see certain things if they're overwhelming you in certain areas of like constant positivity and you need a little bit of support. Look at different areas, look at different people. Don't be looking at competition within your industry of somebody that's doing the same as you, thinking, oh, look, well, look what they're doing. Why can't I be doing what they're doing? So the only competition you have, my darling, is the one in the mirror. And that's the way that I see it, everybody.
Yeah, and there you go. You mean you have achieved so much. People loving your honesty and your passion today. Brona says you're a great role model for girls today. Linda, very truthful, positive and inspirational. Grainne, wishing you continued success. Michelle, Billum, honest, insightful and great advice. And the fact that you started a new business in the middle of a global pandemic and it was a bricks and mortar retail shop,
Yeah.
and you're dealing it, and you're growing and growing online with the bricks and mortar, and you're building all the time. Grainne, it has been, as always, a joy talking to you today. Really enjoyed your company, and yeah, what a great guest to close our conference for 2021. I hope, for goodness sake, that we'll be back in a room all together, hopefully, for the next one. But a big thank you to all of our speakers, to everyone who contributed to today. Thank you so much also to Newry Chamber of Commerce and Trade for organising the conference, and to our main sponsors, Newry, Mourne and Down District Council and the Federation of Small Business, for pulling all of this together. There's a great team behind the scenes that have brought all of these speakers to you today. And you know, there's ND Events. Catherine is behind the scenes there today. She'll not want to shout out, but she's doing all of the magic that makes this happen. So thank you to her as well. I've once again really enjoyed being with you today. I'm spending more and more time down in the Newry and Mourne area, and I'm loving it. Yeah, hopefully we'll all be back in person for 2022. But I know, I'm hoping, everything crossed, I'll be back in Newry with the Chamber on Thursday, the 9th of September, for the Greater Newry Area Business Awards. The awards were launched just today, and you can visit the Chamber's website for your application, and maybe we can all get together and I'll be presenting you with your award. But thank you so much again, everyone. Have a great rest of day. We're nearly at the weekend. Continued success. And yeah, I hope you've learned a lot about your pathway for growth. Bye-bye.